Next guest is a very revered scholar, Dr. Adolfo Roitman. He is the curator of the Dead Sea Scrolls and the director of the Shrine of the Book at the Israel Museum. And now a new book about to be published in English is shedding more light on the Dead Sea Scrolls, which are housed in the Shrine of the Book. Welcome to the show, and it's good to see you out of Jerusalem for once.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Listen, I've had the pleasure of having a personal tour by you of the Shrine of the Book, and it really is one of these places that just, you can never see it through the same set of eyes each and every time. First, let's start by explaining just the Dead Sea Scrolls. Why do you think to this day they are still capturing the mind and the intention of so many people?
The Dead Sea Scrolls are ancient Jewish manuscripts discovered between 1947 and 1956 in 11 caves in an area called Qumran. It's on the northwestern shore of the Dead Sea. And for the first time in history, we have original documents written by Jews who live in the land of Israel 2,000 years ago. Most of them written in Hebrew, a few in Aramaic, and very few in Greek. Most of them on parchment, on ancient parchment, and a few on papyrus. And it's like traveling through a tunnel of time, because for the first time we have the chance to be in touch with real peoples through their writings and to know about society, religion in the land of Israel, in First Temple, Second Temple, Judaism, and in some way to know or to have a new version about ancient Judaism, what in general terms people used to say is the time of Jesus.
Exactly. And it seems like it also captures the attention of Jews and Christians alike, because it really is at a time in history where that bridge was happening. So
exactly, because for the first time we have not just late materials written by Jews and Christians hundreds of years later. Actually, these manuscripts are coming from those years. So actually, when the first scrolls were discovered in 47, people expected to see if the scrolls, they shed light on the origin of the church, obviously.
And do they?
Actually, they do, but not in the way as they expected to be done, because they specifically, the scrolls, they don't speak about Jesus or John the Baptist or Paul. But today there is no way to study about the origin of the church if we don't use these scrolls, because they bring back the origin of the church to the real original historical setting. I mean, Judea in 1st century CE.
Right. So now let's talk about the book of Habakkuk. First, who is Habakkuk? A prophet, but not the not the one that gets all of the PR publicity.
Yes. So actually, I understand from your question that most people, they know about Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, the great prophets of Israel. This one is part of what we call in the Hebrew Bible the minor prophets, like Amos, like Joel. The real prophet lived in the land of Israel 2,600 years ago, before the destruction of First Temple by the Babylonians in 186 BCE. So for in this book, we actually the prophet, he spoke about his own reality, his own society, the social and religious tension of those years, and in the background were the Babylonians who actually were approaching to Judea, that afterwards they destroyed Judea and destroyed the temple.
So that was one of his prophecies, was the destruction, like Jeremiah, like he saw that coming, the destruction of the temple?
Not exactly. Actually, he was speaking about the Babylonians when they started approaching Judea. So, to the contrary, Jeremiah, he announced the coming destruction of the temple, or such a possibility, like in Jeremiah chapter 7. But actually, we see that he sees the Babylonians approaching Judea. So by then, there was the greatest empire that actually was appearing on stage.
Now let's talk about the new book in particular. I know you said it's in Spanish, it's in Hebrew, soon it's going to be available in English. Why is this Pesher Habakkuk so important?
Yeah, so actually the Pesher Habakkuk, or the commentary on Habakkuk, is one out of the first 7 scrolls discovered by Bedouins in Cave 1 in 47. By the way, this year we started celebrating the 75th anniversary of the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now, just by chance, the first 7 scrolls happened to be the most well-preserved and most complete Dead Sea Scroll discovered. And as mentioned, one of them was Special Habakkuk. Now, what is unique is that when this manuscript, specifically this one, was discovered, was the first time in history that we realized that such a literary genre was developed and known by Jews in ancient times. We didn't know that they had developed such a new literary genre through which actually they explain away the contents of Habakkuk's oracles, but actually when they explain away the content was not in the way as we modern scholars we do. What I mean by that, we modern scholars, when we read a text, we try to understand the text in the original historical, social, religious, economic setting. So in this case, actually what I try to do, we bring back the words of the original prophet Habakkuk to his own time. This is not the way how ancients they did. What they did, actually, they projected onto the text their own reality. In other words, when the anonymous writer had to say about the prophet from a historical perspective is relevant for us, for modern readers. But actually, what he did, he projected his own reality. I mean, actually, the political, social situation of Judea in 2nd, 1st century BC. And from this perspective, for us, for modern readers, is critical because through this commentary, we understand the writer and the society to which he belongs.
So can you delve a little bit more into what the society was like? I know we hear a lot about the Essenes and you know, the groups that were there. What do we learn from this text and others about what it was like then?
You know, as you can understand, this is a big question. And I think that in this opportunity, I can share with you a real story at the start of the book. Once I was asked by the authorities of the museum to guide for 10 minutes 2 journalists from New York Times. I said, 10 minutes? It's not enough to explain about the scrolls. They are on a rush, only you have 10 minutes. Okay, so I did my best. I started explaining to them. And then we reached the showcase where the original Special Habakkuk is on display at the start of the book. And I saw my watch. I have just 1 more minute. I said, Oy, what actually I can say in 1 minute? And then I got an idea. And I said the following, and I think this opportunity is also the great opportunity to say to you. I said, you know, the version of Judaism we had before the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and specifically this one, was the CNN version. Right now is the Fox News version. And they got it.
So somebody like me who's a hobby scholar in this, I could read it and digest it and not get confused.
Exactly, and this book produced by the Israel Museum actually is in between a scholarly book and a catalog. Therefore, we have illustrations, we have maps, we have all the necessary information regular people, they need in order to put order in all the information they know. And by the way, the illustrations are some of them archaeological stuff, but also we have pieces of art from the collection of the Israel Museum, not related directly to Habakkuk, but they are related to some of the topics the Special Habakkuk deals with. For example, political tension, discussions and polemical issues between groups, and corruption. And all these issues were relevant then and were relevant today.